Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Outsmart Disaster webinar series presented by the Los Angeles County Economic Development Corporation, also known as LAEDC. We welcome you to this morning's webinar, which the topic of today's presentation is going to be tips, tools, and best practices to outsmart disaster and begin the Outsmart Disaster Challenge. I am Angela Amirkhanian, Program Manager for the Together for LA program, and I represent Los Angeles County Economic Development Corporation. Outsmart Disaster is a statewide awareness campaign that is focused primarily on providing California businesses with the resources they need to adequately prepare for and recover from all types of disasters. Outsmart Disaster partners are the Los Angeles County Economic Development Corporation, Together for LA, Edison International, State of California, and the California Academy for Economic Development. I would like to take a moment to recognize Edison International, whose generous support of the Outsmart Disaster campaign has made today's webinar possible. Thank you also to the California Academy for Economic Development and California Association for Local Economic Development as well for their generous support and partnership. We have a message from our sponsor, Edison International, that I would like to share with our attendees this morning. Southern California Edison believes in the value of preparing for small business in interruptions. We are pleased to partner in providing resources to help small manufacturers plan to outsmart disaster. Southern California Edison is proud to collaborate with the California Association for Local Economic Development and the LAEDC to present the Outsmart Disaster program, whose mission is to help small business manufacturers located throughout the region. I'd like to share some information about LAEDC as well for those that don't know us. LAEDC is a 501c3 nonprofit public benefit organization whose mission is to harness the power of private sector in collaboration with LA County to guide economic development and create more widely shared prosperity. One of LAEDC's many great programs is Together for LA. Together for LA is a strategic partnership whose mission is to strengthen and support women-owned, diverse-owned, and BIPOC small business communities within LA County as they strive to recover from the economic crisis wrought by the pandemic. No-cost technical assistance and connections to small business resources are made available through a generous grant from Wells Fargo's Open for Business Fund. As I mentioned, TFLA is a strategic partnership, and you will see our partner logos on the slide. I'd like to now introduce you to a website to please jot down and visit after the webinar. laedc.org/coronavirus is our designated small business resource hub. This website features all things resources, any current, new, upcoming programs, grants, loans, accelerator programs, and so on to take advantage of. In fact, we have a great filter system where you can jump on the website and narrow down by the industry you represent, the business type that you represent, as well as the type of resource you're looking for example, access to capital and grants. So please visit the website. There's a great deal of resources that you should definitely take advantage of. We also have our technical assistance program available to businesses of all sizes and all industries. We have a team of multilingual business assistance experts that are ready and available to assist you based on your specific needs. Based on your pain points, we can curate a list of resources that you will benefit from. And these are just some of the areas of expertise that we can assist you with, including workforce training and development, layoff aversion, grant and loan application assistance, business resilience resources, reopening guides, and so on. We are also your connection to resources. For example, if you need any assistance in workforce, we have established contacts within key community organizations such as the AJCC, ETP funding that we will be happy to connect you directly to take advantage of. Next, I'd like to introduce two of my colleagues that are joining us this morning to present today's webinar topic. Bob Machuca is District Director at LAEDC, as well as Barbara Levine, also District Director at LAEDC, and they are joining us this morning to take the rest of the presentation and share with us tips, tools, and best practices to outsmart disaster. Bob and Barbara, please take it from here.
Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. We know we're asking a lot. You're giving us an hour of your time, and we really appreciate it. Well, in addition to my role with the LAEDC, I'm also a proud board member of the California Association for Local Economic Development. Helen Schummeyer is not able to join us this morning, and they asked me to offer their remarks. So on behalf of CalEd and the Academy, it's my pleasure to welcome you to our second Outsmart Disaster training. It's a virtual workshop generously supported by Edison International. The California Academy for Economic Development and the Academy are the designated Outsmart Disaster partners through the state of California Business, Consumer Services, and Housing Agency. Our goal with Outsmart Disaster is twofold. We want to help empower you, our businesses, as well as economic developers and other stakeholders across the state with tools and resources and practical assistance to help you and other nonprofit organizations be proactive and take control of what could happen over, the upcoming period. How do you really prepare for disaster? How do you prepare for the unexpected? Well, here are some tips and tools that we're going to be covering over the next half hour, 40 minutes, and we hope you'll find it of value just as much as we have. We want to help you and other nonprofit organizations complete the challenge. It's practical and it's worthwhile, and our goal is to help everybody get through step one that we'll be concentrating on today. As the last year has shown us, recovery and resiliency go hand in hand. It's critical that we help our most vulnerable businesses and communities understand what strategies and practices are available to help them adapt, prepare, and recover from disaster or a threat or any kind of business interruption. Thank you again for your support and your involvement in this program, and please enjoy the workshop. So, next slide, please. And I'm going to go off camera. So the webinars and the one that we're doing today is for all businesses, but we're going to spend a little more time focusing on small and medium-sized manufacturing businesses. You're critical. Manufacturing is still one of the largest industries in the county of LA. And we're going to be covering tips and tools today. And we sure hope you'll join us on December the 12th for our third webinar, where we're going to be speaking of risk and resiliency, and that has to do with insurance and other coverage, because we want to see you protected. Next slide, please. So here we go, tips, tools, and best practices to outsmart disaster. And we're also going to be, when I hand this over to Bob, we're going to be stepping you through the challenge, the Business Resiliency Challenge. Next slide, please. So today's agenda, we're going to do a quick review of what we covered last week by going over the Outsmart Disaster Challenge, tips and tools using the online tool. And let's get started and take the challenge. And we're also going to have time for question and answer. And should you have question and answer, and should you have questions through the presentation, please click the Q&A button and write down your comments, and we'll be sure to address them. Next slide, please. So why Outsmart Disaster? Well, according to the state, through the Business, Consumer Services, and Housing Agency, businesses play a critical role in our communities. You are our backbone. And with our cities as well. We look forward to recovery from COVID-19, and it's important to invest in resiliency and planning now, so we can ensure that we can get back to business faster after any kind of a natural disaster or any kind of intended threat. Next slide, please. So here we have the Resilient Business Challenge. It's a self-guided tool, and it's brought to you by the state and local economic development experts. And my point of view with this is, let's make it as practical as we can for you and your small business. And what these resources will help you with is understand the risks, the bigger risks and threats that your business faces. Take immediate steps towards developing a plan, and it could be a backup system. It's documenting your processes. It's having your employees cross-trained, as well as to strengthen and protect your business, your team, and your community. And there's the link to the Outsmart Disaster Resilient Business Challenge that Bob will be going over later in our presentation. Next slide, please. So here's the overview of what we covered last time. 5 steps to the challenge, but we really want to encourage you, and we're with you one-on-one to help you with step 1, which is prepare and anticipate. So the 5 steps are prepare and anticipate, where you document your business functions and you identify impacts of disruption. Second step is support of key stakeholders. Third is secure and protect. Fourth is adapt and recover. And the 5th step is to rinse and repeat. We want to make sure that the model is practical for you and it works for your business. Next slide. So here we go. Bob, I'm going to hand it over to you. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much, Barbara, and Angela. Thank you so much for keying everything up. What we're going to do today is really take you into the challenge. We're going to go online, and I'm going to share my screen right now, and we're going to actually show you the challenge. Okay, like Barbara said, it's an online tool. And let me ask, can you see my screen? I guess you can't see my screen, right? Okay. So the challenge, like Barbara said, it's online. It's all virtual. I just want to, at the very get-go, I want to let you know there's no cost to take the challenge. Okay. Really, the challenge is kind of a guideline as you sign into. Very simple. Just remember www.outsmartdisaster.com. You come to this page here. And hopefully it's an online tool really meant to give you guidance on where to start, things to consider about business continuity and recovery after any disaster, how to document your business functions and what it takes to keep your business running. You know, I know a lot of preparation, people think, we talk to businesses and a lot of them think it's common sense. But in actuality, I'm finding that my colleagues find out as well that more than 75 to 80% of businesses are not prepared or not adequately prepared. Okay. Now, when you go up, you want to sign into the challenge here. You can see on my screen, and you want to sign up on the left-hand side, Resilient Business Challenge. On the right-hand side, there's resources. At your convenience, you can look at different resources and programs. But to take the challenge, you want to click here, get started. And then as you come to the screen, you want to scroll down here. It talks about what the challenge is. Like Barbara said, it's a self-guided virtual process composed of 5 steps. And when you want to get down here, you want to sign in. Okay, you sign in. Let's begin. And you simply type in your information. Mine's auto-filled automatically. We encourage you to, you don't have to agree, but it's nice to get updates from the Outsmart Disaster and different programs. Now you want to start the challenge. As Barbara mentioned, the first pillar is prepare and anticipate. This is the first step really in creating a resiliency plan for your business and what it takes to recover and keep it running. The first thing really is inventory list. And I know it sounds like common sense, but really your equipment assets serve as a primary resource of a successful business operation. If equipment failed or was unavailable, you would really have to restrict your production of goods and services. You know, when documenting your equipment, it's important to determine whether it's essential or not essential to your business operations. Now, you'll notice here, there's a form and it says 30 minutes. That's kind of an average of what we think it may take. It may not take you this long to fill up the form, but let me check here. Now you should see another form that pops up. Here's a document that was created by an insurance institute to really understand your equipment. And as I scroll down here, here's a form that helps you to list your equipment. And you can answer such questions as, can the equipment be safely moved? How would you move it? Where would you move it to? Can you protect it if left at its current location? Is the equipment customized or is it one of a kind? A lot of businesses we're finding have a lot of one of a kind businesses, one of a kind equipment. What would happen if during a disaster, you couldn't recover that equipment? Could you find a vendor? How would you replace that equipment? So here, and again, I want to emphasize that a lot of you may already have this information. You document this information for insurance purposes. Again, we're not saying you have to use this form, but this form, it just gives you an idea. Okay, so let's get back to the challenge now. Just bear with me here. I want to make sure that you see my screen. The next item is essential business functions. Barb or Angela, if you don't see that on your screen, please let me know. But the next item here is essential business items here. Essential business functions really are the activities that must continue at all times, even during or after an emergency. You can identify essential functions by asking 3 simple questions. What is the current business activity? If not completed, or does this have potential for revenue loss? Does the successful completion of a function depend on other functions? What is the business objective? What business objective does this function support? And then here we have a form here. Again, this form, I hope I'm bringing up the form. I hope you could see it. Here's a planning form that was put together by the American Red Cross. You can download this form. And again, these forms really are meant for self-guidance. They're really meant to help you think, to help you really identify and to know your risks. These forms you can download, you could print them. And again, these forms are for your own use. They don't have to be turned in, okay? So just wanted to give you an idea there. And again, there's forms here for you to use. Let's go down to the next one, business process dependencies. Again, a business process can sometimes be very complex with different elements that are dependent on each other to keep the business running efficiently. In this case, it'll be helpful really to understand what the individual business dependencies are for the system. An understanding of underpinning elements of your business and how to document these processes. Again, we're going to look at a form here. Know your operations. Again, here's a form that you can use. And again, all these forms are downloadable. These forms are for your own use, really to help understand your data, to understand your equipment, to understand your business functions. All this is very important. So again, feel free to download these forms and describe your business process dependencies. Okay, let me go back to the screen here. The next one is contact list. Okay, this is an area we all take for granted. We're also dependent on our smart devices, our smartphones. But during an emergency, all that may go down. You may not be able to charge your smartphone, your smart devices. And again, in a disaster, we need to contact our stakeholders, our employees, your management team, your suppliers, your customers. When disaster strikes, immediate communication with your key stakeholders is very, very important, especially your employees. So here is a contact form. Again, hopefully it comes up on my screen. This was created by the Red Cross. I'm not going to download it here, but again, here's a form that the Red Cross put together to help guide you. Now, a lot of businesses, a lot of you may already have, and I'm sure you do, have a contact list. But we encourage you to have a paper copy of this, again, because you may not be able, there may not be power. You may not have utilities. So we encourage you to, the old-fashioned way, have a paper copy of contacts, which is very important. Let me go back to the main one now. The next area is identify impacts of disruption, disaster risk assessment. Okay, this is a very critical area. An important step in identifying the impacts of business disruption really is assessing the disaster risk and those things that really pose the biggest threats to your business. Depending on your location, business type, and range of other factors, your business may face different risks. Not all businesses are the same. This is not going to be the same for all of you. Once you have an understanding of these risks and prioritize them, you can develop a resiliency plan that allows you to prepare effectively and investing your time and money wisely before a disaster presents itself. And again, here's another form that you could download. And the good thing about this form, it talks about the threats of probability, severity, and then you add up to kind of get an idea of how a disaster would impact your business. Again, these are just guides that we recommend. You don't have to use them all. The other area is recovery needs. Using the information that you built up for your risk assessment, now you can make an informed decision regarding your recovery needs for each of your essential business processes. The type of likely disaster incident will help you make decisions such as how best to back up communications and power. Where might alternative office space be secured? How to establish emergency computer hardware and systems. And again, here's another form from the Red Cross. It'll help you through the process. It'll help you identify the risks, know your risk, and help you with a planning guide for your recovery needs. Going back to the challenge, now we have the business continuity plan. I'm going to turn this over to Barbara because it gets a little involved, but I want to say that now that you come to this point, the Office of Emergency Services has created this continuity plan. It's a template. It's about 50 pages or so, but again, it's to help you identify, to help you build this plan for your business continuity plan, and have it identified for your business, because not all businesses are the same. So let me turn it over to Barbara, and let me stop sharing my screen, and maybe Barbara can show you the continuity plan and we can both talk about it. Okay, Barbara, take it over.
Oh, hi, everybody. Bob, I'm gonna stay there, but let me go back on video. Unfortunately, I'm having a few technical difficulties and I was not able to access the business continuity plan. Getting back to the basics, as Bob said, and as we've been saying, it's important that you have something in place, you have some kind of a backup. And check in with your insurance agent, your broker. You know, if you're part of a business association, if you're a print shop, you know, maybe you're a part of the PIA, the Printers Industrial Association, because there are a number of trade groups or local chambers or other organizations where they also have forms that you could use. So as I said, I rely on my insurance person a lot. They're covering my home, my auto, my dwelling. I go to them and I found that they have a lot of resources. So what's important is you have things in place. And as I said, this is a practical approach, but the benefit is so much larger. It could be that, for example, you might have some great workers in production. They're innovative, they think on their feet, they're able to adapt, and they might fix equipment as something is going on. But unless that process or that alteration is documented, it's not going to go anywhere. And you want to be able to have backup systems in place. You really want to be able to have a package. For example, if you're applying for a loan as a business owner, it's good to have a great package of items that describe your business in a really neat and tidy way. When you're applying for a loan, it could be at some point a transition of ownership where the processes and the equipment lists and the suppliers, that might be considered the overall valuation of the business. The bottom line is it's just good planning. It's good planning to be prepared and to be organized. And okay, so here we went through the steps, and Bob spent a lot of time going through the steps of the challenge. But most important is the first step, which is prepare and anticipate. And as we've been saying, it's really important to document your processes. Next slide, please. Prepare and anticipate. Document your essential business functions. Doesn't have to be fancy, but it should be very organized. It's something that can be picked up and monitored. And identify certainly how disruptions will impact your business. Next. So we want you to be one of our partners, be an advocate. That's good. It's good for our community. It's good for everyone. It's good for your business. We want everyone to become stronger and more resilient. Preparedness can mean different things to different organizations, but really find out what works best for you and your organization and your employees and your families and your stakeholders in your community. And the Resilient Business Challenge is one step to become more prepared and more resilient. Next slide. Ways you can help. Take the challenge. Host a webinar. Share the message with your networks. And certainly we're going to be contacting you because we want to help you get through step one. Next slide.
Thank you so much, Bob and Barbara. Thank you for sharing that great information and walking us through the challenge through the website. I actually dropped the website in the chat, so if anyone is interested in taking the challenge, please directly visit that link right after the webinar. If anyone has any questions, now is the chance to put them in chat or the Q&A functions on Zoom, and we will go ahead and address your questions shortly.
Angela and Barbara, while we're waiting for some questions, I have something I want to add. You know, it's important to be prepared, like we've been saying over and over again. But if a business takes the challenge and they submit it, we want businesses to take the challenge. We're not saying you have to take it, but if you take the challenge and you submit, you complete the whole challenge and you hit submit, I've completed the challenge. Now what happens is you could actually put this on your company website. There's a little logo that says I'm business resilient. You could put that on your website. The value add there is that your suppliers or customers will look at you and they'll say, hey, this company is really prepared. I think I want to do business with this company because in the event of a disaster, they're more prepared and the probability of them being around is greater than other companies that are not prepared. So again, I think that would be a value add to show your vendors, your suppliers, your customers, your stakeholders that you are prepared. And I think that may put you in a better position when you go and talk about talk about promoting your business, when you're looking for a new business. So it's a great marketing tool as well. Just thought that I would add that.
Thank you, Bob. And I do want to mention a recording of today's webinar will be made available and added to our website, laedc.org/coronavirus after the webinar. So please look out for that today. In case you missed any of the information, the video will be available for you to rewind and take a look at once again. Once again, reminder, if anyone has any questions, please go ahead and drop it into the chat and Q&A, but I will kickstart the Q&A session and ask Bob and Barbara, are there any deadlines that attendees should be notified about? Is there a deadline of when attendees can take the webinar? I'm sorry, the Outsmart Disaster Challenge, and any important dates to save?
We would love, great question. Thank you so much, Angela. We are ready to work with any business and walk them through the challenge. So ideally, you know, the sooner they do it, the better. We would love for them to complete it by the end of this year. And that way it becomes something great that you can show to your shareholders and also discuss with your insurance people to see if it would translate into better rates. So I would say the sooner, the better, but we're staffed and we will be contacting all the businesses that have attended the webinars or registered to offer to walk them through the challenge and to help them through step one. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. I want to add too that when you take the challenge, you're going to notice some time elements. Don't let that scare you away. Again, this is probably for businesses that really want to go in depth and really fill out a lot of the forms. You don't have to spend that much time. I know there was a couple that said an hour and a half. Don't let that scare you. You don't have to spend that much time. But again, you know, the more you put into it, the more you get out of it, the more you're prepared.
You know, Bob, to add to what Bob said, this could be a great team building exercise for you and your key staff. Or depending on the size of your company, everybody plays a role in it. Everybody has a critical function in your company. So I would just set aside the time and do it as a group effort. And because everybody's a part of it. Everybody owns the process and everybody has something to add.
Great point, Barbara. And your stakeholders also include employees. I personally would like to work for a company that has a resilient plan, knowing that they're prepared for any type of disaster. And like Barbara said, very important, insurance coverage. Like Barbara mentioned, and I forgot to mention that, I'm glad you mentioned it, Barbara, is that, if your insurance agents see that, hey, that you are well prepared, you documented everything, you have a plan, it could possibly lower your insurance rate. That's a very good point.
Thank you, Bob and Barbara. For those that may have questions after the webinar, like Barbara mentioned, Bob and Barbara and the team will be in contact with you directly. So if you have any questions later on, please hold your questions and someone will be in contact with you directly and personally. With that said, I'd like to move into some closing remarks before we wrap up this webinar. I would like to share that if anyone is interested in further technical assistance and one-on-one complimentary and confidential assistance, we have a contact us form, which is a short business inquiry form on our website, laedc.org/coronavirus. So if you hit the contact us button, you'll be redirected to a short form, which will ask you, other than your contact information, about some of your needs so that we're able to get some information in advance before we contact you and further assist you. We have launched a webinar series. We present twice a month on educational, informative topics on a small business resource that is beneficial and of value to our audience. So please keep an eye out on that. We typically announce the 2 prior to each month and also on the same website, laedc.org/coronavirus. And a reminder about our next upcoming webinar, December 12th, 2021, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. This will be the 3rd of the Outsmart Disaster webinar within the webinar series. And this specific one will be on risk and resiliency. And we have some guest speakers that will be joining us. Lastly, I'd like to once again thank my colleagues, Bob and Barbara, for presenting the information this morning, as well as our partners and our sponsor, Edison International. We can't do this work without our partners, so thank you for your leadership in the community, and we are happy to connect with you after the webinar, and thank you for your time. Have a wonderful rest of the day.